Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of 100 Days of Code with me, Lily Code. Thank you for joining me here on another episode. So what we're going to do today is I'm continuing on with Sean Wassell's 4.5 hour course, React course, and what we're doing at the moment is we're just about to extract props logic into its own component. So when we're using props, I was just showing this yesterday, we create the component which is a standalone file which is basically a function. It's just a function but set up in a slightly specific way. So you have your function, your name of your function, and then you can pass in your properties, which is what's going to be displayed in this function. So we can see here we have our onHide property. This is React.js. And then we can see down here this property is being used on the onClick. So that's coming in from a different component. Excuse me. So if we go back to the counter button page here, we can see that the onHide prop is taking in hide. What's hide? Hide is this function. So that's what a prop is. That's sort of what the props are. And what we're going to do now is extract this into its own component. So if you wanted to pass your props in from a different file, basically, and it's not clear to me yet why we would want to do this, but Sean's going to explain. So stay tuned, guys, and we'll figure it out. So I'm just going to create a new file here in my pages. So new file, and then I'll say display if .ts, display if .ts, what you doing? Oh yes. And then we're going to set up this file as we always do. So export const. Sorry guys. Now display. Okay, so and then I'm going to pass through one prop, and the prop is condition. In this case, condition, which is an object. No, this is just a props object that we passed through. That doesn't mean it's an object. Okay. And then I'll open up my function, and then we want to have this block down here. So we've exported const display if, and then we're going to actually create this display if component. So display if and condition will be passed in like this. Now I'm not sure if this is going to stay here because this is not correct down here, or maybe it is. Let's see what Sean has to say, but I think he's just using this as an example. So so this would display the component that it wraps. So in JSX we would have something like this. We would have something like this. So this will not remain down here. That's out of place code down there, because first of all, you can't call the same component in the same component file. This needs to be imported somewhere else and used there. It's being exported from this file. So this is the definition. And then you would import it somewhere else and use it. That's how it all ties together. You know, you create little standalone blocks or components or functions. React.js components, functions, and you would, I'm sorry if I'm using all these terms interchangeably, but they are all relevant. So just listen, and you'll pick up as you go along. So you have your React.js function, which is exported like this. It can be exported on the same line or down at the bottom of the file. Just if you see it either way, it doesn't matter. The point is you're exporting a function. This is just a function that's in a name the same as the file. So this is a React.js component, which is just a function. So you don't call it like this straight away in the same file and then pass something through. You have exported this to be used elsewhere. He's just explaining it to us. Yeah, he's going to get rid of that now. Yeah. Okay, so now I sort of know why he went to all that hassle. So if I go back here and then say if condition we passed in was true, this was a boolean, and then we closed off this display if. So this is the parent. This would be the parent. And if I just put this down in here for a moment to see if it gives me a bit of syntax highlighting. No, of course, it's just wrong. So, okay, that's fine. I wasn't expecting to move mountains there. So now we have our opening component tag and we're passing in our props, which is of condition true. And then if we have another component in here being rendered, let's say some component, another component, just a different one, component, what happens is whatever props have been passed to the parent are also available in the child. They get passed down the props chain. So you still have access to those same properties that were passed in to the parent. So with that in mind, now we're going to continue. So with that in mind, what you can do is also grab the children. So great, because the props get passed down to the children. Cool, so it just receives those props in the child component automatically. We said that, great. So by adding a children prop to the destructuring up here, yes, so if the properties coming in, the things that we want to grab, this would now be all of the elements that are contained within our wrapping display if tag. So all of the elements that are contained here. Cool. So then what we can do is return. So we will return, and what we will return on is check if the condition is true. So if the condition is true, then we will display the children. We only want to render the inside components if we have this condition set to true. And then in the case that it's false, we won't render it because we don't want to render some component if we haven't been passed anything into display if. We're waiting on something to come through here and then we want to display some component. So this could be used dependent on what type of conditions. You know, you could pass in different types of conditions. Condition. And then only display the children on the basis that you got those. So fantabuloso. Great. Okay, cool. So now we'll go back to our congratulations message and we will remove this line. Number of clicks is greater than or equal to the threshold. So let's just cut that and we're just going to return this fragment instead. Like so. Because as you could see there, in here we were doing that check. We're checking if we have this thing, then display the fragment. Otherwise, don't display anything. So we're just moving that to a different place now. Cool, so now I'll just open and close me parentheses. Me parentheses. Don't ask. Nobody knows where these songs come from. I make them up out of the bean. And they're not great, but I like them. Hopefully you do too. So we'll continue. Okay, so then we'll go to our counter button page, which is just here. And in here now, we will use this display if. So down here we'll say display if, and condition is going to be hide. So if we do not have hide, or if we're saying show, then show it, you know. So it's going to be hide message, because that's the name of the state that we're actually tracking. It's not called hide, it's called hide message. So we're going to check if hide message is not true and number of clicks is greater than or equal to 10. Just as the logic that was there before. So we're passing this in now to our display condition, which is great. So this will do that logic for us. So then we can remove all of this checking in here. Yeah, so then we can remove this ternary, because we've taken that out into its own component, which is just a bit neater, cleaner. Okay, let's just... Yeah, okay, so I'm missing a bracket here, if you can't see that there. So there was an error. There's something happening on these subsequent lines of code. I'm getting an error. So if I just check where the last place I was, like where this might even tell me, must have one parent element. It doesn't tell me exactly, but you can sort of figure from this, okay, well, something must be gone wrong before here. So then if we look up here, this should be bigger for you guys. Sorry about that. So then if we look up here to this line, we can see here now that I'm just missing my closing parentheses first of all. So, you know, we'll get that in, and then that'll solve a few bits. And then also, where is this display? We still have some errors here. So JSX fragment has no corresponding tags. So it's not catching up. It can't identify this closing tag. So what's going wrong there? Why is that? Well, we haven't closed our display if. That's what it is. So we need to close that around this congratulations message, because before I took out that ternary, this was the bit that was conditionally showing, and then there was a or null. So for that reason, this is where we're going to wrap that. And then if we do not have Mamma Mia, Mamma Mia, and then if we do not have our, if hide message is false, and if the number of clicks are greater than or equal to 10, then we want to show congratulations message, and only in that condition. And you can see here we just passed this condition in. We passed this condition, so your condition could be whatever condition you want. You're just expecting a condition here, and then if this is false, then you don't show some component, and if it's true, you do show some component. So the some component in this case is your congratulations message. So that's how all that is tying together there. Cool. Cool, so now this should still just be the exact same. Oh yeah, so now the display if will show, and we already have the number of clicks here telling us, well, if it's greater than or equal to 10, then show the congratulations message. So we don't need to pass number of clicks true anymore, because we're managing that somewhere else. So that can come out. Let's save, and let's just go and make sure that it's not definitely expecting that. So yeah, are you going to go and take it out of the... Yes, so he did take it out of here also. So great, because yeah, it's expecting it. So it wasn't an optional parameter, it was being expected. So we have to remove it from the component itself. So now we can come back to our app, and we can go to the counter button page, and let's see what happens here. Okay, module not found, cannot find, display if. So let's just make sure that this is imported. So we're using it here, but have we imported it? We have in the okay. So export const display if. So this is where we're exporting it. Like, I don't think we don't need to add it to our index.js, but let's do that anyway, just so we can add it to that same array and get a feel for, you know, is that got something got to do with it? So display if from same level, display if. And why is that a TS file? So see the way this one here is a TypeScript file and all the other ones are JavaScript files, because I actually created it as a TypeScript file. So there we go, we found our error by doing a little bit of extra work, like as in just I wasn't even sure, I didn't think that really had anything, but it'll tweak with you eventually, you know. And this is a great extension. I have an extension that gives me these symbols on my files. So if you don't see a display like this, you can just install an extension and then your folders will be organized like this as well. So I can't even remember what the original Visual Studio Code icons look like, because this is used so often. So take a look at that, you guys. So we'll go back now and come back to our folders and just change the name of this file. So let's rename here. Rename. My file needs a change. It's giving me a pain in my head. So TS, so this is going to be JS. It's not really, that's fine. So now let's reload. Perfecto, selecto, favorito, Lilio. So bad. So if I go to the counter button, okay, cool. So we have an error. That's all right. Let's check what. Okay, cool. So yeah, grand. Lucky I clicked play, because we could have been going in circles for a while, like a little old mouse on a wheel. So we'll come down here now on the counter button page. We're on line 10. So here we can see our starting value, and our starting value is parse location.search, and that's coming in from use location, which is, I did explain this in a previous lecture. Let's just console log out location again. So, you know, I'm not going to bamboozle you here with lies and take a haphazard guess, you know. Let's take a little look. So if I console log out the location, I can remember what that is, because I can't really remember actually. Oh, it's where it is in the DOM, isn't it? It must be. We won't worry about that for a moment. We're going to take a look at that in the console and figure it out together. And then we have this other constant, starting value, which is equal to the parsed. What is that? Who knows? No money messing. So the parsed location.search and then dot starting value. So we have our starting value as well, which is here, and then that's just being parsed into a number. So this is getting the 0 for us. Yeah. So we can, I think, so then we'll just pass in an OR, and we want to say OR 0. So if we don't have that location, then we just want it to be 0, and then NaN should go away. So if I reload, there we go. Bada bing, bada boom, baby. And we can see our counter message still works on the 10th click. So if I open up my console here and just check out this location. Oh, yes, that's what it was. Yeah. Yes, so the location has got to do with the slug and routing. So when you want to route to a particular path, a URL, then you need to know what the path is, and you use this location to help you tell you, well, where are you in the location of the URL? What page are you on? What's your location within this application? Our location now is localhost .3000 /counter. So this location gives you information on your URL location, where you are currently browsing within the application. So we can see our path name here is /counter, which it is. That's our location indeed. And then also that this search is empty at the moment. So if we're to add in a query parameter here and say Q equals Q ? Home. I think this is how you pass a query parameter. No roots. Yeah, but what's my location, baby? So let me just type in query parameter. Query parameter, not down here. Up here. So query parameter structure. Because maybe I just got the the question mark or something in the wrong way. So how to get all rest parameters. Here we go. Question mark. Yeah, immediately after the URL. Okay. Come on, baby. I need you. So here we can see, okay, so let's try this. Oh, and we need the keyword search. So let's try that. So we have search, question mark, Q, and then the thing that you're searching for. So if we try and add that, so this was wrong. So counter is a valid URL. Then we do /search, counter, /search, question mark, Q equals, and then the query string that you want to search for. Okay, so it's still not finding the URL, which is totally fair. Like, that URL is not there. But all I wanted it to do was to show me that actually, once we do search and we've passed in the right query parameter string, that would come into this search here. So you see that query parameter being passed as this property on the location object. So anyway, let's continue. Which we've seen that in a previous lecture. So come on, Shaun, don't leave me hanging. Loud, will ya? Loud. Right, so the next lesson is just loud now. So now we're looking at class-based components. What is legacy code? Okay, yeah, let's do it. Then we have lesson 6, writing clean React code. Lesson 7, learning advanced topics. And lesson 8, hosting a React application. So that's very exciting. I haven't looked at that either yet. So very exciting stuff on the way. Okay guys, so let's continue and look at class-based components. Yeah, and legacy code. So now we're going to make React components with classes rather than this functional approach. Cool. So just listening. Excuse me. It's okay, so we're starting. Super. I was just chatting and now we're starting, so... Okay, so now we're going to create a new folder within our folders, and we're going to call it class based. So within our source here, we will create a brand new folder and call this class based. New folder. Class based. Cool. So we have our class based folder now. And then within here we will create a new file. Okay. So we'll say counter button page, counter button page cb.js. Perfect. And now let's set this up as always. So, oh, we're doing a class, aren't we? So I don't actually know how we are going to set this up right now. I should do, but it's not coming to me. So cool. So we're going to create a few of the components we've already created for comparison. So then we'll also create here a other new file, and this will be our counter button cb.js, and then we also want our congratulations message cm, just because we need to have different names, you know. So new file, don't cut anything for a while, new file, and this will be congratulations message cm.js. Okay. Okay, so yes. Sorry guys. Okay, so now what we do is we will import React from React. So let's do that as always. Import React from React here. Then we will add export class counter button CB. This is our congratulations message. So I'll just move this to our counter button CB, and then say extends React.component. So we have to tell it is a React component, and then we open up our curly parentheses there. Okay, so then what we're going to do is have our return statement down here. So we have return, we'll open up our parentheses. No, we need a render. Where am I going? Right, so we still do need a return. So first of all, we said we want to render. And what we want to render is this return. So we render, open our, which is a function that we run. And then what we want to do is return something when we do this render. So I'll move these in for the beginning. And then we want to copy what we have in our counter button page. No, just in our counter button. Here we go. And what's returned in here will also be returned from our counter button page CB. Counter button CB, sorry. So in here. And perfect, okay. Okay. Right, so now what we want to do is define what our props are going to be. So we can still use props with this class-based approach, it's just slightly different. So we'll create a constant here and we will destructure the props that we want to use. So number of clicks and on increment are our props. And then this is going to be equal to this dot props. Cool. And then that's about it, baby. So then in our congratulations message component, we can set this up the same way that we just set up our other class-based component, which is we import React from React. Yeah. From React with a small or not a big. We gotta do it right or else we'll something. So then export class congratulations message CM. Oh, he put CB at the end of all of them. It wasn't for counter button, it was for component based. Anyway, that's okay. We're going to stick with CM. Extends, it's just the name, it doesn't really matter. Extend, you can call it whatever you want. React.component. Then we open up our curly brackets. Then we say render. And we pass in the parentheses. We open this up and then we say what we want to return. And we open this up to like so. And again, we just want to return the same thing we were returning from our congratulations message functional approach, which was down here. Down here. But oh yeah, okay. Cool. Oh, stop doing that. Sorry guys. So if I come down here now to my congratulations message. Okay, and copy this. What's in the return statement? Yep. And paste it into my congratulations message. CM. Here we go. Let's paste. Cool. And then we will tap this in and save. So cool. So we also need our props as well. So threshold and unhide. So in here we will destructure those same properties that we're using within this file. So we have const. We will create, sorry, my hair was just annoying me a little bit. We'll create our object here and we will say threshold and unhide. So threshold, comma, on hide. Perfect. And then this is going to be equal to this dot props. Perfect and lovely. And then in our counter button page, we will import the counter button and the congratulations message and put them all together. So cool. So let's import React from React again. Import React from where? From React. All right, baby. And then we'll import counter button CV. And we will also import counter button page. Counter button page. Da 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 da. No, not that one. We want our counter button page CB. Got the wrong one, baby. So counter button page CB. That's this file. Congratulations message. We want our congratulations message CM. Cool. Grand. And now we can actually create this. So how was this done again? Do we export? No, we don't, do we? Let's have a quick gander. Oh yeah, we do. Okay, so we export, because we still need to use it elsewhere. Class, and this is going to be the counter button page CB, yeah, and then we just extend the React component, yeah. Extends React dot component. We open up our thing, we render first of all with a small r, render, open up our parentheses, then we open up our curly brackets and return, not that one, return, and then we can paste in our return for our counter button page. So let's go find that page and let's go copy that code, because we lazy, we don't like doing it again. Okay, that's enough of that. So don't mind my strange dances, got a strange dancing, some strange dancing going on. Okay, so grand. So now we obviously just need our props as well. So we'll say const get our object deconstructured, destructured here of the different props that we actually need. So it's going to be hide message, it's going to be number of clicks, hold on just a little moment. Let's see what he's going to do, because excuse me, let's see what Sean's going to do, because I have different props from different components here, and then the props are available in the child, so you don't need to pass them down from the parent to the child. So I'm not sure what should go into this destructuring array basically just yet, so we'll watch and then we'll code. Well, I'll watch, you'll watch me, and then we'll code together. Cannot seem to get the water in my mouth today. Everywhere else, yes. In my mouth, nada. Oh, shit, I missed it. Excuse, pardon. Alright, okay, so he did do it right. So yeah, hide message and number of clicks, that's what we want. No. What was he doing over there now? Tell me now what you're doing over there. Will you tell me? Because I don't know. Fill me in, Sean. Will you give me the news? You're holding it back here, you are. I'm lost. Okay, yeah, so he did copy and paste the return JSX. Okay. Okay, so he just said we're not even going to worry about the props for the moment. Because we're going to worry about nothing. We're not going to worry about anything. But we're going to not do the props for this for the moment, and then we will hook up all the state in just a little moment. So okay, so once we start looking at state management, within a class-based component, this is where we'll see the divergence from the functional approach and the class-based approach. So at the moment, we haven't really seen much of a difference. You know, they're pretty in line. Everything is all gravy, baby. There hasn't been that much of a change apart from this line up at the top, and everything else is and render. So it's very similar. But once we start adding state in now, it gets a bit more. You start to see the differences, so that's what we're going to do. So thank you guys for staying tuned to me to look at class-based functionality. Jing! Ridiculous. Okay. Wouldn't it be great if I could actually sing, like always singing away and not a note in my head? But you know, I love it anyway, so that's alright. Oh, bada bing, bada boom, baby. We can't use React hooks within a class-based component, which is why, as Shaun says, not my words, anyone that doesn't use functional-based components will probably get left behind if you're just using class-based components, because if you can't use React hooks are so handy, you know, they're really great. So they're managing all your state for you. They're doing loads of things. You know, you have your use effect. You've got loads of different hooks in there. You can go to the React.js documentation and take a look at the hooks. We've covered a lot of them in here, like use reducer, use effect, use state, and probably many others as well. That's all I can think of right now. But yeah, they're very useful. So yeah, so if we can't use the use state hook, if we can't use the use state hook, well then how do we manage the state of something in React? How do we do that? We'll find out now. We use the state member variable that every class-based component has. So every class-based component has a state member variable, and we can use this. So inside our counter button CB page, gotcha Sean, with you. I'm with you here. Keep telling me, I'm listening. The ears are peeled. Okay, cool. So the two things we want to track the state of in this component here, or two of the things, is hide message and number of clicks. So we need to know these to know whether or not we want to display our congratulations message. So given that, what we want to do is set up our state management. So in a class-based component, this is how you set up state management. You say state equals an object, and the properties we want to pass through to this state object are hide message which is going to be initialized as false, and then number of clicks, which is going to be initialized as nada. So let's go back. So coolaboola. So then in our counter button CB page, inside the render here, now we can use these. So as we were. And we can just equal these to this dot state now instead. Perfect. So then we have a state that's been initialized. We can use it, and there you go. That's it. So let's go back. So now, but what about this on hide? So the way Sean Wassel's on hide was, he had an online function. So the way his one looks, I pulled mine out into my own standalone function within the counter button page, or within the page that initially defined this counter button page. I had the hide function hooked up. So the way Sean has it done is an inline function. So let's just use this approach. It's the same. We can either pull this out of into our own component or make it an inline function. So message not component there. That was a mistake, a slip of the tongue. So then we're going to pass in the value true to this function, and all we're doing is setting the state of the hide message variable to true. But now we don't have a function and a function called set hide message to update this hide message state like we did when we used use state, because that comes with part of the use state hook. What we have instead now is this destructured object, which is the hide message and number of clicks that we're using from this dot state, and this dot state's original value is this object which hide message is false and number of clicks is 0. So there is no set hide message function to update this hide message anymore. Whereas if we go back to how we had it done in our old component, we can see here when we use state, we have that function also created and destructured and assigned at the same time as we create the hide message. So it doesn't exist in the class-based approach just yet. So therefore, let's see what Shaun does. Cool. So what we cannot do, because you can't really alter your state directly, that's not advisable. So you can say this dot state dot hide message is equal to true, which is what we actually are doing when we're running that set state set hide message function to update the state. Sorry, my ankle is itchy and I just gotta scratch it. So when we are updating the state, we can't do that. That's what that use state hook allows us to do, is to update and track the state in a way that's acceptable and okay, and we're not directly interacting with this state, messing about with it. We have a React approved way that, you know, it's not gonna go a bit loopy if we do it wrong. So for that reason, we don't interact with the state like this directly and just set it to true. There is another way. Okay, so we just use set state. Of course we do. Yes. So don't worry if this is new. That's totally fine. But I've seen this before, so I should have really known it. And I didn't know where he was going. So yeah. So we use set state, and then we can pass in parentheses here, and then we pass in the object and the thing we want to update. So in this case, it's hide message and of the value true. So this is how you set state in a class-based component, or just in the old JavaScript way. So this is how you would do it, you know, in other places as well. But with React, when you're using React and you're using functional components, which is how you can use all these hooks that help you do all this different functionality. So that's all you're doing when you're using a React set state hook. Like, of course, in a way, a friend of mine was correct. Like, it's funny, React is just complicated or made it easier, like. But all of these functionalities already existed. They haven't done anything new. They haven't done anything new at all. People just keep adding layers on top of programming. We should stop adding the layers and just use the base language. Like, I nearly agree. A friend of mine said that to me recently. And I was just like, and this person has 25 years experience. So they've seen the progression of, languages, the introduction of CSS, then into getting into all the frameworks coming out, and just frameworks keeping on coming out and having to stay on top of them if you want to be in a professional setting. And that actually he feels they slow you down, because you could do all of this stuff with just plain old JavaScript, CSS and HTML, and you could do it better. That was his opinion, and it sort of blew my mind, because I could see the validity in what he was saying, and actually tended to agree, even though I don't have that same level of experience and all I know is frameworks. So frameworks are great for me, it's how I've learned how to code. But yeah, if you just got in and learned the actual language, the JavaScript or the TypeScript, JavaScript, if you got in and learned how that does all this stuff, your understanding will be better. You can interact with the DOM and the browser and do things, understand what's going on. So that's why they made frameworks, because you had to dig in and get this level of understanding that you just don't need as much if you're going to use a framework, because you can plug and play, you can spin one up real quick, you can start working, and then you can fumble around and figure it out, which is fantastic. And then you just get better and better and better, you get more and more used to it. So it's a great entry point. But if we all just started with the JavaScript, we'd all be better coders, So funny and great point. Yeah, great point. Okay, so now we just need to also update this increment function, because we don't currently have an increment function at the moment in this component, so we need to add that in as well. Cool, so we will literally just declare a function out here. So we will say increment equals, what does it equal, Sean? You tell me. It's gonna be an arrow function. So there we go, an arrow function. And let's scroll down, and we are going to say this dot set state and pass in the object, and we're going to update the number of clicks to this dot set state, or this dot state, so the current value in the state dot number of clicks, and then add 1 to that. And in order to actually get this to work like this, we need to add a constructor. In order to bind the this. I mean, you need to know this stuff anyway, This is all the sort of trickier bits that take you a while to wrap your head around. And then they've just took all this out of React. Like, I do actually sort of agree with Ronan, even though I don't have that same level of knowledge or experience to make a comment necessarily. I wouldn't consider myself experienced enough to even honestly hold a valid discussion on this. So I would say that, my friend has 25 years experience, and he's seen this progression. So someone here who isn't, totally amazing at the basic JavaScript, I can't be like, oh, React is a waste of time. This is how I've got a job. Angular isn't beneficial. This is how I've literally got my jobs. But I just understand what he's saying, that by understanding the fundamentals, you can do more. And it means you need to go back and look at the fundamentals. A framework is just a stepping stone. But there's so much to learn that you sort of get lost in the frameworks. Then you can get lost in another framework. And, you know, I've gone back and started reading the You Don't Know JS series by Kyle Simpson, which is a brilliant series. He clearly understands JavaScript so well. So well he can tell you the bits that even if you're competent, you probably didn't know worked the way they worked. And it's just a brilliant series. You can get it for free on GitHub. He's currently writing the second version of this series. So do check it out. I'll leave a link in the description box down below. It's all free and it's a fantastic JavaScript book and series of books. And this will allow you to bridge that gap between framework and the language that you're using, so you understand how it's actually working behind the scenes. So this stuff makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Which you need to know this stuff as well. And it's easy to get it lost. But if you're just starting out, I remember when I was just starting out, I started to learn the Angular framework, and after a year or two I was like, right, that's it, you know, I need to go off and learn JavaScript. Like, I don't know JavaScript well enough. And I jumped into the You Don't Know JS book series, and maybe it was a good idea, but I feel now I didn't even have enough experience with Angular. You know, I didn't even fully understand what I was doing in Angular to be running off and adding new things into the mix. Just do what you're doing. Don't put too much pressure on yourself, and it'll all come with time. And I'd actually say stick with the same thing for ages, because then you'll gain that confidence and understanding. And, you know, I felt I needed to know everything, and I thought I'd knew everything in a few years. I'd be like, you know, by 3 years now, I'll be able to do whatever I want. Like, I'll be a brilliant coder and nobody will stop me. And I've improved a hell of a lot, but there's a lot more to learn, so much more to learn. As I said, I'm by no means an expert. So this is a continual journey, guys, and just be kind to yourselves and know that. So great, let's continue. Okay, so because he didn't even finish then, he just got rid of this. He just said, all right, so for that reason, this is why it's better to use functional components, because you have to do all this stuff with class-based, and the functional components are there for a reason, to allow you to use the React hooks and use these things that are going to help you. So if you're using React, looks like the best approach is to use a functional component, and it looks like then you can use the hooks and stuff. So that's how you should use React. Unless you have that knowledge that you can see a good use case for a class-based component. I don't have the knowledge to even see when this approach would be helpful, you know? Would it be helpful? Is it better to never use it? I'm sure there is a use case. But I'm not the girl to tell you. So, and it seems like neither is Shaun, because he hasn't gone into it. Yeah, he said you shouldn't even be writing components in class-based syntax. Just in case you come across an all React blog post and you see it, so you know what you're looking at. And now we're going to be looking at lifecycle events next. So in the next lecture or day, next day, it's not a lecture, it's just a conversation about coding. That's what we're doing here. We will be looking at lifecycle events in class-based components. Why? Like, you just told us never to use them and didn't even finish off this component. So I don't know, maybe we'll skip ahead because it seems pointless. I have enough of an understanding of what a class-based component is now. It has the keyword extends in it, React component and class. So if I see that, I'll just be like, all right, this is the old thing, and then I'll go and look into it. So yeah, I'm going to skip that as well, and then we're going to go to lesson 6. Write clean React code. That's what I want to know. How do I write clean React code? So we will be doing that in the next day. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. Have an absolutely great day. I hope you have a nice day. Look around at the trees. Enjoy the day. That's what I'll say. Thank you. Thanks.